Look what he made me do. I met somebody new. Ooh, baby, baby, I'm dating with another stranger. Hey strangers, so in today's video, I feel like talking about my other dating thing. Obviously, it's part of the dating with a stranger segment, so hopefully I'm talking loud enough because it is pretty late and my roommate is actually asleep right now, so hopefully I don't wake her up, and the fan is on because it's hot as hell. Anyways, so for today's episode, I'm going to be talking about, honestly, this stems from like cringy, but also this person was a really great person. Like, I think he was one of the dates that I went on and I felt really sad about, that, you know, things were ending, because have you guys ever had that moment where you talk to somebody so much that you felt like they were, you know, I don't want to say soulmate, but you just felt so connected to them, and you felt like what you guys were talking about, I'm just changing the lighting on my computer screen, but like when you guys were talking, it just went so well that you could see yourself dating this person. So me and this person, we started talking for like, I want to say at least a week. I always wait for that little gap, and we talked about everything. Like, we talked about families, about past relationships, likes, dislikes, flaws, everything, and it was amazing. Like, even his job, like, I think and also I think he's subscribed to my channel. I have no way of contacting you of whether or not it was okay to talk about this, but obviously I'm not going to give their identity or anything, and if you are watching this, just know that I'm just stating how the date was, my thoughts, and it has nothing to do against you, okay? Just a disclaimer. But yeah, his job was like, he cooked for celebrities, so he's cooked for like Shakira, he's cooked for BTS, which is crazy, and I was just very admired by the way his views were. That we were really aligned on many things. So what had happened was, we were talking for a while, and then later it was to the point where I told him, I was like, you know what, it might be too soon to say this, but I just feel like I have this connection towards you that I'm afraid it feels like it's too good to be true. And I also feel like if something were to happen, then I'll let it happen, but I'm also afraid of like blocking it off because I'm just afraid of change. And we talked like from day to night. It was amazing. And then one day I was finishing work early, and he was like, oh, what time are you finished work this day? And I'm like, oh, I'm actually finishing at this time, like, are you free? And he lived in like another city, which is by transit it takes like about 45 to an hour or so. So he was like, oh, I'm down to like meet up with you if you want, and like, you know, we can chill around Toronto. So I'm like, okay. So we planned to meet at this corner store by Chinatown. So then later when we were meeting there, my first thought, like, I was having butterflies throughout the whole day. I was thinking, oh shit, like, I can't believe I'm meeting this guy, it's probably gonna go so well, you know what I mean? And then the first moment I met him, how should I say this? I thought to myself, I was like, ooh, I think I can only see this person as a friend. And call me crazy, and I know I'm not the only one, because I've talked to this with many of my friends, and they were like, Sophie, no, you are not being shallow, you are not being wrong, it's just it didn't work out what you thought it was. You had this image, you had this fantasy about this person, and it just didn't align. So basically when I met him, I'm like, oh, so first of all, I am quite short and he was taller than me, but I felt like for me to be romantically attracted to somebody, unfortunately they do have to be a little bit taller than me, a little bit more taller than me rather. So yeah, he was a little bit short, and also when he spoke, I feel so bad, but I'm just gonna go with it. When he spoke, it was very like gentle, and for me, I like somebody who is stern, who like, they have to have that charge, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was more gentle than mine. So, you know, it's like two two of the same thing creates a negative, you know what I mean? Opposites attract. So I felt like that's what happened. So then the first thing I said was, oh, is it all right if I go to the bank? Because, you know, I gotta go to the bank to take out money. His birthday also just passed too. It was like a couple days after his birthday. So I wanted to treat him out for dinner. So I didn't tell him that. But as we were walking to the bank, he's like, oh, Sophie, do you like alpacas? I'm like, oh, like that's so random, but if I were to choose, I like giraffes. And then he's like, oh, okay, because I got you something. And then he pulls out this like alpaca plushie, and I still have it in my room as a reminder because I'm like, you know, I just look at it and I'm thinking, should I just bring it down? I'll bring it down at the end of the video. I was like, oh wow, like you didn't have to. What? Why? And then he's like, oh well, it has like, you know, it's yellow and your hair is blonde, so I just thought that it matched. And I'm like, oh, okay, like nothing wrong with that. I'm like, wow, thank you, like appreciate it, but I was kind of a little bit weirded out. You know, it's one thing to pay somebody on a date, but to give them a gift, especially if you guys like it was your birthday, you know what I mean? So it was kind of weird. So as we were walking to the bank, he was very persistent on wanting to carry my bag, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but he was very like, oh, your bag looks heavy, let me hold it. No, no, don't worry, let me, I got it, I got it. And I'm like, no, no, it's fine. Like for me, my backpack is my safety net. I feel naked when I take it off. So I was like, no, 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 it's cool. I got it. He's like, no, 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 let me hold it. I'm like, okay. So he was very persistent on wanting to hold my bag. So I gave it to him. And then as we walked to the bank, we made our way to this little market area. So as we were walking, he's talking about his job and, you know, telling me how he transferred to a lot of different places, which was quite interesting. I'm not going to lie, it was. Um, and then when we got to the market, we were looking at like random shit. And I say whatchamacallit a lot. Like I'll be like, oh, what is that? Whatchamacallit? And I guess when we were walking, I saw a chocolate bar that said whatchamacallit. So I pointed at it and started laughing. And he's like, oh, let me get it for you. I'm like, what? No, 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 it's okay. I'm like, no, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm not eating chocolate right now. You know, I'm on a no bad carbs diet. So don't worry about it. It's cool. And then he's like, no, 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 don't worry. I got it. I want to buy it for you, please. And I'm like, no, no, it's okay. It's fine. And then he was very persistent on it. So I'm like, okay, if you buy this, that's it. And he's like, okay. So he buys it. And then later we go over to, we were trying to decide what restaurant to go to. And then we finally decided on this place called Kenzo, I think. So it's like a noodle place. So as we were there, we were just looking at the menu, did our order, and then later, I at one point I think I wanted to say excuse me to the waitress, and then he was just like, oh, you should say it in this way, and then he said it in Japanese, and mind you, he's not Japanese. So I was like, oh, but how do you know if they're Japanese or not? Because you know, in Toronto, if they're working in a Japanese udon restaurant, chances are they're probably Chinese. So then later, he's like, no, no, I know they're Japanese. I'm like, okay. So at that point, I'm like, okay, this guy is a little off. And then later, offer me. And then later, as we were ordering, he kept like saying, oh, do you want anything else? Like, oh, do you want this? And you know, I was like, no, no, it's fine. Don't worry. Like, I don't really eat that much. And then I guess he took that as me saying I don't eat that much. He felt like I got offended. So he's like, oh, sorry, like, did I offend you? I'm like, what? Like, you said you don't eat that much. Like, you don't. I'm like, no, no, I'm not offended. It's just, I don't eat that much. I'm not hungry. Like, what we ordered is enough. So as we're eating, you know, things were well. I felt like it was just a normal eating date. And then as we came to pay, I was like, hey, you already got me a little gift. You got me the chocolate bar. Like, let me get this. And I don't remember who got it. I think he did pay for it. But I told him, hey, if you pay for this, just like the first date, I was like, here, how about we, like, I'll pay for bubble tea or something. We can go find a bubble tea shop. And then he was like, do you want to do everything today? And I was like, what? And I think he took it as like, it seemed like I wanted to get over this date, which was not entirely true. Like, I did enjoy his company, but the way he worded that was like he wanted to see me again. Like he was thinking there was going to be a second date. You know what I'm saying? Like not a second hangout, but a second date. So as we were walking around, we went to a random shop, and then later I was like, we were looking at different sunglasses, and then he tried on a sunglasses, and he was just like, "Oh, how do they look on me?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, they look pretty good." He's like, "What do you mean? I look fabulous." I'm like, "Oh, like I can't. If I'm gonna be romantically attracted to somebody, if they're being too, I'm sorry, if they're being too flamboyant, I don't know if I dig that, you know? Like maybe as a friend, I'm cool with it, but yeah." So then later, he wanted to go to the Harbor Inn, which is like a lakefront shore thingy majiggy. So I was like, "Oh, it's getting pretty late. If anything, like, how about we, just go to City Hall, chill there, talk a bit." This is kind of sounding like the first episode. But yeah, ironically enough, we went to the City Hall, and I was just like, "How about we just chill there, and then like we'll split ways because you have to go to a different city. I can just go home, hop on the subway. It's fine." And then he's like, "No, no, like, can I at least walk you home?" I'm like, "No, it's like 9:30. I don't want you to walk me home. By the time you walk me home and then you bus to your place, it's gonna be so late. It's fine." So then later he's like, "No, no, it's cool. It's cool. I really want to walk you home." So then later we sat at the city hall, and then he asked me if I wanted anything to drink, and I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 I'm cool. Don't worry about it. If you're thirsty, you can get yourself a drink." Because there was like a little fast food place nearby. And then later he was just like, "Oh, yeah, no, 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 don't worry. I want to get it for you. Let me get you something." And that was the thing that turned me off about him, was that there's one way to be courteous and to, add in chivalry, but when you force it after somebody has said no so many times, it just gets forceful. So I was like, "Okay, sure, like, I'll get this." And then he's like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to put anything in it." And I was like, "The fuck?" Like, I wasn't even thinking that, but now I am. So then as he's going to order the drinks, he comes back. We're talking, just getting to know one another even more. And then later he gets a phone call. And then the way he picked it up, he was like, so the phone's ringing, and he goes, "Hello, mother." And I had goosebumps. I was thinking of Norman Bates. If you guys don't know Norman Bates, like, that's like from Psycho. That's from Bates Motel. I was just like, "Oh shit," like. Ugh. So then later he was just like, "Oh yeah, sorry, my mom called. Usually she's not like that, but she's just wondering where I am." I'm like, "Well, in that case, I think we should just split ways. Don't worry about bringing me home. It's fine." He's like, "No, no, I want to bring you home." So I told him the story about how I don't kiss on the first date, because I think from what I felt like he, if a guy or somebody, whoever, is bringing you home, there's that expectation of like, do you hug? Do you kiss? Do you what? So I told him a story of how I don't kiss on the first date, just so I can imply that I don't do that. So then later, when he brought me home, we finally like wrapped up at the city hall. He brought me home, and then later, whatchamacallit, there we go. There was like a Korean church near my place. So he's like, "Oh, let me teach you like some of these Korean characters." I'm like, okay." So I felt like a lot of his skills, which are really talented and such, I just, it wasn't really asked. Like, if I asked him, "Hey, can you teach me these characters?" then it's different. But for him to be so persistent, I felt like that's where we kind of clashed a little bit, especially in person. So then when he brought me over to my place, I did not want him to know what floor I lived on. I didn't want him to go inside the lobby. I was just more like, "Hey, like, this is good enough. Like, I hope you get home safely, like, it was so nice to hang out with you," which it was. Don't get me wrong, it was. And I didn't mind being friends, but I just gave him a simple hug, and then the way he walked away, it was like he kept looking back, Like, he walked away, looked back, as if it's like, "Whoa, is this it?" You know what I mean? So then that night I did text him, and then I wasn't gonna tell him like what I thought about the date until like maybe the next day, because I didn't want to be like jumping gun ho on it and be like, "Oh, by the way, like, I don't know if I'm interested in you," because I don't know if he's interested in me. So then later when he got home, I texted, "Hey, hope you got home safe," and he's like, "Yes, I did." And then he asked, "So what'd you think about the date?" And at that point, it really broke my heart, because like I started Googling if I was shallow. Like, I really felt bad to the point where like I started tearing up at myself because I started thinking like, damn, like I've been single. If you think about, yeah, I've been casually dating people here and there or like testing out different people, but it's like I've been single for like almost a year or 2 years, and it's just a little weird for me to like reject people, which I don't like, but I also have to stand my ground. So I told him, I'm like, hey, like, I understand, like, when we were talking on text and stuff and such, like, it felt so right. But for some reason, when I met you, like, I felt like it became 360. And this has nothing to do with how you are as a person. It's just me personally. I just don't feel that romantic connection that I did prior to meeting you. And I know this sounds harsh. I get it. But in times like this, like, you cannot lead anybody on because like I said, I've been in that spectrum before and it's not fair. You know, especially when you're meddling with people's feelings. Like, people's feelings get hurt, whether it be from lies, which is horrible. I rather hurt people from the truth and nothing but the truth. So I told him how I felt, and then he became like very upset about it. He was just like, see, this is why like nobody likes me. And that's the thing. Like, there's one way for me to feel empathy for you, but when you start playing the victim, and in a way, like, I'm trying to understand you, but if you're not trying to understand yourself as a person, that's where I'm kind of like, hey, like, this is not, this problem that you have against yourself has nothing to do with me. And it sucks that, you know, I don't know what they've gone through, but I don't care how many times I get rejected from people. I would never, never in a million years say to that person, like, how could you do me like this? Or how can you not like me? You know what I mean? Like, I can't do that. So after that was done, um, I felt bad. Like, I genuinely did feel bad. And I think why I still keep that plushie here, which I'll show you guys. So it's up there, that yellow one. So the reason why I keep it is because it's a reminder for me to not think over my head. Like, not think, like, I need to think. What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to not think with my head of, oh my god, he's perfect. Oh my god, he's going to be the one, before meeting them, before seeing if our chemistry works well together. Because if I do that, like, then hopes get put up and stuff like that. And it feels like shit, you know, when you reject people. So yeah, I guess he's the guy that I would say I've let a good guy go, and I don't have any regrets from it. I think the person that he's going to be with in the future is going to be super lucky because he's so nice and he's so genuine, but unfortunately, he just wasn't my type. But yeah, that is another of my dating segment story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Kind of long, kind of lengthy, a little bit repetitive, but hey, if you guys are still here and you guys are still watching, there must be something right that I'm doing. But like always, I try to post a vlog video, a beauty video, and also these random dating segments here and there. And as always, I like talking to myself. That's not a lie. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. Bye guys.